NFL superstars who had no help. Imagine being the best at your job, but everyone around you keeps dropping the ball. Literally. These NFL legends carried entire franchises on their backs while their teammates watched. Let's count them down. These NFL superstars who put up Hall of Fame numbers, made Pro Bowls, and earned league-wide respect while their supporting cast gave them absolutely nothing to work with. These players deserved championships, but got heartbreak instead. Let's get into it. However, before we start the countdown, quick shout out to some honorable mentions who just missed the list. Phillip Rivers spent 17 years giving everything to the Chargers, threw for over 63,000 career yards, and somehow never reached a Super Bowl. San Diego and LA found new ways to break his heart every single postseason. Matthew Stafford put up massive numbers for 12 seasons in Detroit with 0 playoff wins, before finally escaping to the Rams and winning a Super Bowl in his first year. That trade proved everything we suspected about his Lion situation. Alright, now let's get into the official countdown. Number 10, Tony Gonzalez. We're kicking things off at number 10 with the greatest tight end in NFL history. Tony Gonzalez played 17 seasons, made 14 Pro Bowls, and retired with 1,325 receptions and 15,127 receiving yards. Those are numbers that may never be touched at his position. But here's the heartbreaking part. In 17 seasons, split between the Chiefs and Falcons, Gonzalez only won 2 playoff games. 2. He reached just 1 conference championship in his entire career and never made it to the Super Bowl. A first ballot Hall of Famer with 0 rings because neither Kansas City nor Atlanta could build a championship roster around him. Number 9, J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt might be the most dominant defensive player of his generation. He won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards in his first 5 seasons, a feat that's absolutely insane when you think about it. In 2012, 2014, and 2015, nobody in the league was more unstoppable. But what did the Houston Texans give him? Mediocre quarterback play, inconsistent rosters, and early playoff exits. Watt finished his Texans tenure with just 2 playoff wins despite putting up historic numbers year after year. Injuries eventually took their toll, and one of the most gifted defenders ever never got the championship opportunity his talent deserved. Number 8, Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson was a human highlight reel, and his 2012 season might be the greatest individual running back performance in NFL history. He rushed for 2,097 yards, just 8 yards short of Eric Dickerson's all-time record, and dragged a mediocre Vikings team to the playoffs with Christian Ponder at quarterback. Christian Ponder, people. Peterson won the MVP that year despite having absolutely no passing game to keep defenses honest. Teams stacked the box every single play, and he still ran through them like they weren't there. Minnesota wasted his prime years with poor roster construction, and AD never got the championship his talent demanded. Number 7, Archie Manning. Before Peyton and Eli became household names, their father Archie was getting destroyed behind the worst offensive line in football. Archie Manning played for the New Orleans Saints during their darkest era, a time when their fans wore paper bags over their heads and called them the Aints. Manning was a 2-time Pro Bowler in 1978 and 1979 who displayed incredible talent despite being sacked, pressured, and beaten down week after week. He never experienced a winning season in New Orleans during his 11 years there. Not one. Archie Manning was a superstar trapped in football purgatory, and his career would look completely different with even average support. Number 6, Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald is arguably the greatest receiver to ever play when you factor in his hands, route running, and professionalism. This man caught passes from more than 20 different quarterbacks during his career, and most of them had no business starting in the NFL. Despite this revolving door of mediocrity, Fitzgerald retired with 17,492 receiving yards, second only to Jerry Rice in NFL history. He made 11 Pro Bowls and somehow remained elite into his late 30s. Arizona gave him 1 legitimate Super Bowl run in 2008, and that's it. A player of his caliber deserved so much more, and Cardinals fans know it. Number 5, Calvin Johnson. Megatron. The nickname alone tells you how dominant Calvin Johnson was. Standing 6'5" with 4.35 speed and hands like Velcro, he was virtually unguardable in his prime. Johnson set the single-season receiving record with 1,964 yards in 2012 and made 6 Pro Bowls while doing it. But playing for the Lions during that era was brutal. Poor quarterback play, non-existent defense, and coaching instability wore him down mentally and physically. Calvin Johnson retired at just 30 years old, still in his absolute prime, because he was tired of losing, tired of carrying a franchise that couldn't figure it out. Detroit broke one of the most talented receivers we've ever seen. Number 4, Dan Marino. Here's a name that still haunts Dolphins fans to this day. Dan Marino revolutionized the quarterback position, and his 1984 season was absolutely ridiculous. He threw for 5,084 yards and 48 touchdowns in an era when those numbers seemed impossible. But Miami's front office never gave him a running game or a defense capable of winning championships. Marino reached 1 Super Bowl in his second season and never returned despite playing 17 years. One of the greatest pure passers in NFL history walked away with 0 rings because the Dolphins couldn't build a complete team. It remains one of the biggest organizational failures the league has ever seen. Number 3, Andrew Luck. This one still stings. Andrew Luck was supposed to be the next great NFL quarterback. He had the arm, the football IQ, and the clutch gene. He made 4 Pro Bowls in just 6 seasons and led some incredible comebacks that had fans believing he was destined for greatness. But the Indianapolis Colts failed him miserably. They surrounded him with a terrible offensive line that got him absolutely destroyed year after year. Luck suffered a lacerated kidney, a torn abdomen, and a shoulder injury that nearly ended his career. He finally walked away in 2019 at just 29 years old because his body couldn't take any more punishment. Indianapolis broke one of the most talented quarterbacks of his generation, and we never got to see his full potential. Number 2, Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders did things with a football that defied physics. He made defenders look absolutely foolish on a weekly basis, won the 1997 MVP, rushed for 15,269 career yards, and retired as the most electrifying player the league had ever witnessed. His highlight reel is still unmatched to this day. And yet, Barry Sanders walked away at just 30 years old while still in his prime. Why? Because the Detroit Lions were a complete disaster. Poor coaching, terrible rosters, and organizational dysfunction drove one of the greatest talents in sports history into early retirement. Barry only won 1 playoff game his entire career despite 10 dominant seasons. When your greatest player quits because he's exhausted from losing, that's failure at its absolute worst. Number 1, Joe Thomas. At number 1, we have the most loyal player in NFL history and the ultimate example of wasted greatness. Joe Thomas played left tackle for the Cleveland Browns for 11 seasons and made 10 consecutive Pro Bowls from 2007 to 2016. 10 straight years of dominance at his position without missing a single snap until his final season. And how many playoff games did he experience? 0. Not 1. Joe Thomas protected quarterbacks who couldn't hit open receivers, played on teams that went 1-31 over 2 seasons, and never once complained publicly. He gave everything to an organization that gave him nothing in return. Joe Thomas is the definition of a superstar who deserved so much better, and that's why he tops our list. That's our list. Who did we miss? Drop your picks in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another countdown.